start. Welcome everyone and thank you for joining us for today's webinar. The topic for today's session is mental health wellness for children and youth in digital age. My name is Nikita Deshwal and I am an assistant clinical psychologist at Psychowellness Center. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the session, please type them into the chat box. I'll bring them up during the session and we'll also have a time for question and answers at the end. Today's webinar is presented by Psychowellness Center in collaboration with TalktoAngel. Psychowellness Center is a comprehensive mental health wellness clinic. We believe in understanding and analyzing thoughts, emotions, feelings, and behaviors to treat mental health issues and promote overall wellness of the individual. TalktoAngel is an online counseling platform dedicated towards spreading mental health awareness and promoting holistic well-being through its wide range of services for users in India and around the world. With half of mental illness issues and health issues beginning by the age of 14, it is critical to intervene early to minimize its effect on development, education, employment, and health. So let's start with the introductions and maximize the time we have on this important topic. Firstly, joining us is Dr. R.K. Suri, the founder of Psychowellness Center. He is a clinical psychologist, having more than 36 years of experience in hypnotherapy, psychoanalysis, neuropsychological assessment, career counseling, and relationship management. Dr. Suri is acclaimed motivational guru for positive attitude and behavior. He has provided career counseling to more than 20,000 students in more than 15 countries. Welcome, sir. Next, I would like to introduce Dr. Cheenu Agarwal, the Director of Feeling Minds. She is a leading psychologist and psychotherapist working in the area of imparting emotional education to every strata of the society with the mission to bring psychology to everyone. She is advanced REBT practitioner for children and adolescents. Dr. Agarwal has trained a number of parenting experts who are contributing in this area in major cities, India and abroad. Welcome, ma'am. Our next panelist is Dr. Tripti Sakhuja, founder of Yes, I Can Solutions. She is a psychologist and a certified child and guidance counselor. Dr. Sakhuja is the author of Gratitude, A Great Attitude. She is also a guest faculty in Amity University and Delhi University. She's also a sexual literacy facilitator. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you. The organization also.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to introduce Dr. Khushbu Devani, owner of Karna Health Center. She is a young and enthusiastic psychiatrist with special interest in women's health in regards to mental health especially. She believes in a holistic approach to treatment and is well versed with various psychotherapies. We welcome you, ma'am. Last, but joining us today is Dr. Kamal Agarwal. He is a child development and occupational therapist by RCI. He has been working in the field for the past 14 years. His area of expertise include assessment, intervention, medication of kids having autism, ADHD, developmental delays, or delayed milestones. We welcome you, sir. Thank you all for being here.
Thanks a lot.
So shall we begin?
Yes,
Are you
definitely.
So coming on to begin with, my first question is for Dr. Cheenu. Ma'am, we have seen a great change in our education system since the COVID-19 outbreak. How do you think the online class system has affected the students as well as parents' mental well-being?
So at the outset, I would like to thank Dr. Professor Suri for having me here and your organization to organize such a relevant webinar today on the occasion of World Mental Health Day. And the theme of World Mental Health Day this year is mental health in an unequal world. If we are talking about children and adolescents, that means we are talking about a population which is not getting mental health attention very early at the onset of symptoms or even before that. So that's why this talk is really relevant and timely for the occasion of World Mental Health Day. As far as the question being asked to me, what is the impact of the online education system on the mental well-being of children? If you're asking me about mental well-being, you're not asking me about the threshold that divides mental disorders. And so I would like to first talk about mental well-being per se, and then maybe a point or two about mental disorders.
Sure, ma'am.
Since online education became an imperative during the pandemic, and we had no choice but to engage children somehow in the education system so that they do not miss out on the opportunities, on the benefits of education, and at the same time they are not lost in their world as if they have nothing to do, because children thrive on structure. बच्चों को एक प्रेडिक्टेबल स्ट्रक्चर अपने दिन में होना उनके लिए बहुत जरूरी है. तो ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन सिस्टम ने मेंटल वेलबींग के ऊपर बहुत सारा पॉजिटिव असर भी छोड़ा है. बच्चों को एक प्रेडिक्टेबल स्ट्रक्चर मिला जहां पर उनको उनका डिसिप्लिन डिस्टर्ब नहीं हुआ. उनको सुबह उठना था, तैयार होना था, उनके स्कूल जो है उनके घर में आ गई, उनके टीचर्स से उनकी मुलाकात हुई, उनके जो सहपाठी हैं जिनके साथ वो पढ़ते हैं उनसे उनकी मुलाकात हुई. Having said that, it has also had its own ill effects after some time. जब थोड़े दिन हो चुके, पहले तो सबको अच्छा लगा, हम अपने घर में हैं, अपने घर के एनवायरनमेंट में हैं, दादा दादी के साथ हैं, मम्मी पापा के साथ हैं, अपने भाई बहनों के साथ हैं. After a while, it started having adverse effects on children, and children started reporting one symptom that caught the attention of researchers was feeling low. They started reporting that we are feeling low. हमको कुछ अच्छा सा नहीं लग रहा है. यहाँ कम से कम नहीं बनेगा. And they also started having anxiety. They started having a feeling of loneliness. They started having irritability. They started having some sleep pattern disturbances. And they started asking, स्कूल कब खुलेगा, कब हम स्कूल जा पाएंगे फिर से. And if this question was not addressed adequately by the parents, they became really uncertain. And so the world started appearing to be a really scary thing for them. क्या कभी ठीक नहीं होगा सब कुछ, क्या हमारी नॉर्मल लाइफ कभी नहीं आएगी, क्या हम खेलने नहीं जाएंगे, क्या हम अपने दोस्तों से मिलने नहीं जा पाएंगे. And these anxious thoughts then started occurring and being reported in children as early age as 6 to 7 years. Now, the issue with children is, बच्चों के अगर शुरुआती दौर में अगर हमने उनको केटर नहीं किया तो वो माइल्ड से मॉडरेट हो जाता है, और मॉडरेट जब उनकी एंजाइटी होती है या सैडनेस की फीलिंग होती है, then it starts rapidly progressing towards mental disorders. In our country especially, and in many other countries as well, mental health services are catering mostly to adults. चिल्ड्रन और एडोलेसेंट्स को बहुत ही देर में हमारा ध्यान जा रहा है, जो पहले से जाना चाहिए, जिससे कि हम थोड़ी सी भी उनकी अगर वेलबींग में इधर उधर हम देख रहे हैं तो उनको तुरंत हम केटर कर पाए. थैंक यू.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was very insightful. My next question is for Dr. Tripti. Ma'am, it has been observed that a little bit of internet use is positive, while excessive use has a negative impact on mental well-being. What are your views regarding this? And I'm sorry, could you please mute yourself, Dr. Smedha?
I think you should mute everyone. Please mute all the participants.
I'm sorry for the
and only
disturbance.
allow the guests to unmute themselves. Mute all.
Yeah. So let's.
Yeah.
So, ma'am, what are your views regarding the excessive use and of internet and how it is impacting our mental well-being? And how do you think mental well-being is impacted negatively in terms of excessive internet use? And how do you think counseling would help reducing the negative impact on this?
Yeah, thank you, Nikita. And I echo every word of what Dr. Chinu said. And thanks for your organization, Dr. Suri, for having this platform to reach to so many, which will reach to so many people about such an important topic. And more so, it has become very, very relevant in this pandemic. Few years back, like when DSM-5 came, as Dr. Chinu talked about difference between mental well-being and mental disorder, we have to see that continuum. And this disorder was not in till DSM-4. In DSM-5, IAD, Internet Addiction Disorder, was added. And it came under the spectrum of compulsive, impulsive spectrum disorder. So that was the stage that time. But imagine now, this pandemic. And as you said, it has advantages also and disadvantages also. And one lovely thing about this concept of addiction comes out because almost everyone is using internet on their mobiles, tablets, iPads, computer, laptops. Like in pandemic, so everyone has started doing it. And as far as I am concerned, I would say it was so good. I could manage this pandemic so wonderfully well. I grew in my skills. I helped others to grow in their skills. I could take online sessions. And today's session is also an example of advantage of internet. But when does it cross the line? That is the question. कि वो line कब cross हो जाती है when advantage turns into the disadvantage. Now, if I talk about advantage, so same thing can be an advantage, can be a disadvantage. If I talk about one advantage, which is the most common advantage of internet, that is we have access of information. हमारे पास दुनिया भर की information है, हमें कुछ भी पता करना है, इस word का मतलब, इस concept नहीं पता करो ना पहले, इस concept के पीछे क्या history है, everyone just puts in and you get the plethora of information. But when it is overused, when it crosses the line, this plethora of information will only impact us back and it will become a disadvantage. So if you're talking about what impact it has on our lives, if we make a wheel of life, अगर मैं participant से बोलूंगी कि एक circle बनाए एक और उसके अंदर 8 pieces कर दे जैसे पिज्जा के होते हैं, so make 8 pizza bites. और अगर आप ये करेंगे और इसमें लाइफ के important areas को note करिए. So important areas would be your health, your relations, your friends, your career, academic. And trust me, all these areas are impacted by overuse of internet. So if we take the major areas, if we take and categorize, so about the health. Now, health, physical health, as well as mental health, both these areas are impacted. So in physical health, a very, very common impact would be the eyesight. It impacts the eyesight of our children, our youth. And unfortunately, if we go to a school or we go to once me and my husband were, we went to an adventure park. And a school school team was coming there, a group of school children. And most of them were wearing specs, which we didn't see in our times. Our times कि अगर एक दिन किसी ने चश्मा पहन लिया और वो कभी मिलने आया बुआ के पास, मासी के पास, तो उनका पहला रिएक्शन होता था, अरे तुम्हें चश्मा लग गया. लेकिन अब it's a very common thing, right? So our sleep pattern is disturbed. I am getting so many clients nowadays क्योंकि वो पूरी रात वो जगते हैं. एंड पेरेंट्स बोलते हैं हमें तो नींद आ रही थी, हम तो सो गए, पता नहीं क्या कर रहे होते हैं, लेकिन सुबह वो क्लास के लिए नहीं उठ रहे. एंड देन व्हेन आस्क्ड, so they sleep at 4 a.m. they sleep at 5 a.m. तो वो क्लास के लिए कैसे उठेंगे? So it impacts their sleep pattern, which impacts which brings so many hormonal changes. Then another thing, the back problems. Especially this corporate world where I have seen and I know the people, youth of our country, which is in corporate world, they are from morning to evening. They are on chair, sitting and doing laptop. So their back problems. We are hearing a lot of slip discs and back problems. So it is impacting our health. And one more very important thing which is happening, if you see these children, they will be generally doing like this. Gradually, they'll be doing like this. So as they go on typing or playing games, so this carpal tunnel syndrome they develop. And which means there is a little numbness in this area of the hand. And many more. So it totally big impact on the health, physical health of the child. And as the topic tells today, the mental health. Mental health, absolutely. Irritability coming in the children, so much of aggression coming in the children. I know a client personally, class 12th student. And one day he was asking the mobile and father snatched the mobile from him. He was playing on mobile and father snatched the mobile that you have a test tomorrow, why don't you study? And he pushed father towards the wall. Father got real hurt. But the son had no repentance, no sorry thing or anything. Because they have become so irritative, so aggressive. It is not anger, they have become aggressive. And their emotions, they are also becoming... And they are also becoming sad. They are also becoming insecure. They are not alone, but they are feeling lonely. So a lot of emotional turmoil, roller coaster they are experiencing, which is making their life a roller coaster. And if we see physical and mental health, and then we come to the next aspect, which is academics or job performance. Wherever which stage the children are, the youth is, that is being impacted. They are losing the concentration. They are not having any goal in life. उनको पढ़ाई भी नहीं करनी है because I had a class 9th girl and she stopped going to school. This I'm talking pre-pandemic. She stopped going to school. And on discussion, she said कि स्कूल जाके क्या करना है, कुछ भी नहीं होने का. मैंने TikTok पर, that time TikTok was prevalent. So she said कि मैंने TikTok पर इतने likes इकट्ठे कर लिए हैं, so I can earn through them when I grow up. And she was not aware of even a simple concept of career or task, what the goals of life. So it impacts the physical health, mental health, it impacts the academics, and it impacts the relationships. So as I'm talking about all the wheels of life, all the sections of wheels of life, the relationship is very important. So as I said, these children are alone, not alone. They have so many likes, so many friends, and they are working towards it, but they are lonely inside. They are not having relationship with their friends. There are no friends, no relatives to, like, they don't want to go to their relatives' places. I remember when my children were small, there is a wedding and we all were excited. We all will go and have that chaat there or have that shake there. But now now I hear my clients, अगर शादी में जाना है तो बोलेंगे हम नहीं जाएंगे, आप जाओ. अगर हमने कहीं घूमने जाना है, हम नहीं जाएंगे, आप जाओ. एंड मामा मामी की और चाचा चाची के साथ तो बिल्कुल ही नहीं जाएंगे, बिकॉज दे आर बिजी ऑलवेज इन देयर लैपटॉप और फोन्स. So if we talk about relationships, they are stopping conversation. There is no conversation even with parents, siblings. Sibling rivalry is increasing. The issues are कि मेरा लैपटॉप बंद कर दिया, या मेरे को चार्जर नहीं दिया, या हमारे पास एक्स्ट्रा लैपटॉप ही नहीं है, फोन हमारा स्मार्टफोन नहीं है. These are the issues now of sibling rivalry. So I can take any area and it is impacting. So Nikita, do you want me to continue with the next question?
Yes, ma'am, sure.
Which you had?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So as a counselor, now you want to ask, as a counselor, what we can do. How can counseling affect?
Yes,
Right.
yes, ma'am.
Right. And this pandemic has really increased these type of clients. I have got so many clients because of this. They are not studying. They are, so parents bring them here. Now, if I talk about what as a counselor we can do. So as a counselor, first step, remember, the first step is the rapport building. Unless you create a rapport with the client, you will be like any other relative or any other parent who is judging the child कि इतना internet क्यों कर रहा है, इतना online screen time क्यों कर रहा है. So first step is rapport building. And rapport building, what does that mean? That would mean total acceptance. Total acceptance of the person, of the child as the child is. And that would mean no judgment. That would mean keeping the confidentiality. That would mean no blaming, no criticizing, no criticism, no condemning, no comparison. And the child, when the client is coming to you, he's all this bubble of comparison, criticism, condemnation, not understanding why I cannot lead my life. So the first step, rapport building. Once we are able to establish the rapport, once we are able, why not? If a child is coming with a game addiction of PUBG game addiction, why not I play PUBG with him? Why not I ask him to teach me PUBG? And come to the child's level without blaming, without judging, without criticizing. Making the rapport formation is the first step. Then if we talk about other steps, so one would be the assessment. Through some test or through some questions, maybe incomplete sentence blank, we can have some assessment of on the spectrum where the child lies. And if it is a severe mental disorder, then we need to refer to the psychiatrist also, because then medicines will work to balance the hormonal changes inside. And then third, psychoeducation of parents or any stakeholders, maybe school teachers, is very important to continue with the same threshold what I am dealing with the child or the client, any counselor is dealing. So main threshold would be that, yes, they have to accept the child first with all flaws. And then we come to intervention. And interventions would relate to the thoughts of this client. What is the client thinking? That is the cognitive domain we will be touching. What is the cognitive distortion of the child? And then again, restructuring. If you talk in technical terms, it will be like we will be using CBT, REBT, and one another very good therapy which really works for addiction problems is motivational interviewing. So what is done in this? That basically you have to create an ambivalence. When the client comes to you, client comes with this notion that I'm not doing anything wrong. But then he will gradually, through our questioning, through our discussion, conversation is very important. So through our conversation, the client will come to the level of, when the client says, I want to leave screen time, but I'm not able to. So once the child or the client comes to that level, then you have the treat. Then you will be able to, through your interventions, various techniques, you will be able to handle and bring that child in a conversation with you. And conversation will focus on what is the routine of the child and what are the goals of the child. So once a child has a goal in mind, it will be a gold mine. So I would say rapport formation, assessment, interventions, and conversation. These things really help the client. Thank you. We can continue. Yeah.
And as you said that being non-judgmental and talking without criticizing is part of rapport building, I would like to ask that as a parent, can being non-judgmental and talking without criticizing also reduce the problem at home?
Actually, in any relation, if any person, any participant here would think of oneself and see कि अगर मुझे criticize किया जाता है तो what do I feel? Because it impacts the self-esteem, self-concept, self-worth. And when parents are, very important question you asked, Nikita, because when parents are criticizing, when parents are judging the child, you know what is happening? The child is creating his or her own self-talk. And this self-talk will create her personality, the child's personality. And this personality will be exhibited in the society. So if we want to create a positive self-talk, we have to come to the level of any stakeholder, not only parents, the teachers, the doctors, I would say. The psychologist का तो है ही ये रोल, पर अगर pediatrician भी जजमेंट में आ जाएगा कि तेरी आंखों के नीचे तो गड्ढे हो रहे हैं, लगता है तू पढ़ाई नहीं कर रहा, स्क्रीन पे लगा हुआ. So a very casual remark, but it creates, whatever is said to the child, creates the self-talk of the child. That is why these judgmental statements and critical remarks are very important and carefully used.
And I would like to add one thing to what Dr. Trupti said. Research is saying 36% of parents themselves are addicted. And there are more chances of children getting addicted of the parents who are addicted already to internet. So we have to always remember when we are talking about children and adolescents, especially, and this is talk about children and adolescents, they are having invisible antennae. जहां से वो हमारा बिहेवियर पूरा as it is कैच कर रहे हैं और कॉपी कर रहे हैं. If you, it is not possible that I am always on my mobile and I preach my children कि आपको नहीं देखना है, ऐसा possible नहीं है. So there was a small anecdote where एयरपोर्ट पे एक छोटी 5 साल की लड़की जो है वो किताब पढ़ रही थी. तो किसी ने पूछा कि आजकल के बच्चों के हाथ में तो हमने कभी किताब देखी नहीं, हर एक बच्चे के हाथ में तो मोबाइल रहता है. तो मदर ने बोला, it's just because I myself read a lot. As simple as that. So parents का तो यहाँ पर बहुत बड़ा रोल है ही है. What you are modeling, they are observing and absorbing both.
Yeah, you are very right, Dr. Chinu. And it is a very famous quote that don't worry about what children are doing. Worry about what children
you are doing.
Worry
about what you are doing and they are seeing you doing.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
Thank you, Tripti ma'am. Thank you, Chinu ma'am. So on that line, on talking about internet addiction, I'd like to ask my next question to Dr. Suri. Sir, after the COVID-19 outbreak, an increase has been observed in the number of cases of internet addiction or dependency, which has in turn increased depression, anxiety, and stress. So what are your views regarding this?
Thank you, Nikita. First of all, let me compliment all the people who have come on board with us today, sparing their family time and compromising on that family time for a cause which is very important and imperative in today's context of providing equality of mental health to each and all. With that as a note, yes, internet users has increased. Digital divide has further increased globally. If you look at the negative impact of the digital imperatives, many of the children from have-nots have not been able to have access to education, which is their fundamental right. Many of the children are not able to have access to health, again, which is not a fundamental right even in 75 years of our independence. Yes, the increase in use of internet or digital technology has been very, very essential, and it has come as a boon to a great extent in terms of connecting with the people. During the pandemic, from the TalktoAngel, we were able to provide during the first pandemic free services to around 10,000 users in terms of reaching out and providing mental health support. Dr. Khushbu was involved with it from the very beginning. We have been able to provide that kind of an access. The other important element comes that with the access, because you don't have any other option to do, so your screen time is increased. Now, defining onto the balancing of the same was a concern, because pandemic has impacted one of the family members. He is completely confined. The other member is also confined in another room. And internet or the WhatsApp or other digital technology provides a support, which we must thanks to the technologists who has given a time in terms of improving the quality of life and also the quality of health. That's why we are all over here. And this digital imperative would provide a lot of support in good quality telemedicines to come up with. Many of the psychiatrists per se, when I was dialoguing with them in the early 2017, 2018 for telemedicine in psychiatry, oh, no, don't talk, Dr. Suri, about the telemedicine. We don't have time, firstly. Secondly, we are not interested in terms of reaching out to the people through mobile service. Look at now, every psychiatrist is coming on board in terms of providing mental health services. Now, excess of everything is bad, whether it is water, air, or talking, or relationship. Anything you talk about, excess is bad. Now, you need to define what constitute an access, that there could be a model framework. There are guidelines by various statutory bodies. CDC came out with a couple of guidelines. WHO came up with a couple of guidelines. Government of India also came up with a couple of guidelines. Supreme Court also came with a couple of guidelines for the use of internet in the schools for children. That is a very, very important aspect. Now, yes, when there is a sudden change, and that sudden change, a loss, a grief, a trauma, traumatizes, it impacts not only the health, but overall functioning of an individual, family, and society. I've seen many of my good friends, surgeon, very good friend, surgeon, my good surgeon friend, we were classmates in schools, and he was performing his services till last day of his breath. Ultimately, he couldn't survive. So this all has impacted not only the family, but the society at large. With the users, excessive users, the urges and behavioral manifestation, because in the internet, there is more of a behavioral manifestation than the physical manifestations like alcohol or substance abuse. In internet users addiction, it's more of a behavioral and cognitive manifestations at the first instant, and later on the physical and the financial indulgence impacts them. Now, with the excess use and impact of COVID, the depression has increased, anxiety has increased. Last but not the least, the financial crunch has impacted everyone. We need all the 5 dimensions of health: physical health, economic health, social health, relationship, psychological health, and spiritual health. All of them have been impacted. The temples, the gurudwaras, the churches, the mosques, where you were going and offering in the day and night, was all closed because of the pandemic. All has impacted in terms of channelizing the energies. It's a common thought that anxiety and stress will go away without doing anything by a time. That's a misconception. That's a very, very strong misconception in the society. Nothing goes and nothing comes as a free. You have to earn on it. You have to work on it. And whenever there are red flags, the signals in terms of, as rightly put across by Dr. Chinu, Dr. Tripti, about the red flags of the children and engagement of the parents. We cannot curse the child. There are guidelines, specific guidelines for the use of internet. I remember when in 1997, I was involved as a member of the task force in terms of the IT Act. At that time, we incorporated a lot of things from United States. And as a society, we are just aping not only the acts, but the behavioral concomitant of the Western world. As a result, all those boundaries are getting dissipated. And therein, we need to look into defining the balancing. I fully endorse what Dr. Tripti was saying, balancing out. Balancing is very important, and giving equal time to each and every activities is very essential. There comes the role of everyone: policymaker, implementer, educator, healthcare provider, and the other religious and spiritual leader also, politicians. Everybody has a role to play in terms of providing mental health facilities to each and everyone. Thank you, Nikita.
Thank you so much, sir. So talking about on the same line of internet addiction and dependency, my next question is for Dr. Khushbu. Ma'am, what are your views on increased dependency on internet and increased risk of suicide among teenagers? And how do you think psychiatry can help in this field?
Thank you, Nikita, for the question. I would like to thank the Psychowellness Center and TalktoAngel team, Dr. Suri, for giving this opportunity to all of us to talk about such a relevant topic today. I think Dr. Safuja and Dr. Agrawal have covered most of the things which I would like to tell here regarding internet addiction. And Dr. Suri took care of all the policy making thing, how the all stakeholders are very important in the whole process of targeting our population of children as well as the youth when we're looking at digital mental health, right? But as sir was telling that anxiety, depression, everything has increased. All of us, if we think about it, our life is just surrounding internet. How many of us have kept our phones aside on mute or without internet services ever for more than half a day? Hardly. I think none of us would do that voluntarily, unless we are asked to do so. So it's not only the adults who are getting affected, but also this population of kids who are now exposed to internet because of the school services that are being provided through internet. So you would be very baffled to hear that there is a study recently done which says that 92% of teens use internet every day. So imagine the amount of internet usage that is there in our kids, in our youth at this point of time during this COVID times. And as it was rightly said by the previous speakers, it has kept them away from actual relationships, from actual connect with people, with their friends, which probably they are trying to connect through internet. But the whole concept of sitting face to face, having that touch is very important. And I am sure the psychologists here will agree with me that importance of touch that we say when we talk about mental health, right? It has also been seen that, these kids who are 15 to 16 years of age, especially males, have the propensity to form addictions. So why an addiction should develop? I'll tell a certain points which I think need to be focused over here before we go to suicide. Why we are talking about addiction here is because all of us are using internet. So what is that line of addiction as well as proper use? So we use internet for education, we use internet for communication, we use internet to video call, chat with our friends during this COVID times. How many of us have reached out to our family who are not residing in India and outside India and have been able to contact them? That is all because of internet. But then we are also using internet for entertainment. Entertainments like TikToks. As Dr. Sakuja was telling, one of her clients who was so addicted to TikTok when she wanted to leave her studies and take it as a full professional thing. So these are the TikTokers, where they have left the touch with reality, that it's not the social media, or it is not the internet that is their life, but the actual people who are around them. And how many times have we heard in news the TikTokers doing certain stunts to get more likes, more followers, and then ending up harming themselves? So there is a double-edged sword that we're dealing with, the internet. So not only it's a positive thing, but there are quite a few negative aspects to it. But then it's an individual approach. I think, if someone says that I can have a control over my internet usage, yes, I would agree with them. But then they do not realize when to draw a line, when to stop using internet, when this reality and this virtual world gets mixed. If we see about social media, if we see about Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, how many kids keep on crying, keep on putting videos saying that I do not have enough likes, I do not have enough followers, or my friends who was doing certain videos and putting it on Facebook or Instagram has so many likes, but I did not get so many likes. This is all comparison that a child or the youth of today is doing with their counterparts. Also, a lot of body shaming happens. If you open Instagram, I'm sure how many of you would have seen that, a thin girl, pretty girl being in a video of a TikTok or on Instagram Reels. This creates a sense of body shaming where kids of today, the youth of today feels that is how a person is supposed to look like. That is how a person is supposed to dress like. That is how a person is supposed to spend like. So all these things keep on adding stress to these individuals, to the youth who is using the internet. And besides the social media, I think a very important topic we need to touch here is online sex, online porn that is easily available, which I think, now because of the rampant internet usage is easily accessible to anyone who opens a single Google search page. a child of 9 years old, 6 years old are addicted to sex. I have seen parents getting their kids who are just seeing these adult videos, and they are not able to pinpoint where the problem is, where the person got access to such videos. So I think these are few things which does come with the internet use, does come with the excessive use of internet that we are seeing nowadays because of the COVID times. Then I think Dr. Sakuja also touched the topic of PUBG. I cannot stress this point more. I don't even remember how many cases I would have seen of kids, of parents getting their kids to our clinics asking about, why is my child spending so much of time on this game? There were games before. There were games that were being played before. There were many role plays that were done before. But why this game? So I mean, I would like to, bring this across. The reason all of us as psychologists, as mental health workers, have tried to put our word against PUBG is because of the content, the aggression that comes with the game, the kind of rage that is shown in the game, the access to firearms, how easily it can be used, how it can be the kind of pleasure the kids are getting from killing the opponents. All these things are having a negative impact on their mental health. And I'm sure all of you would agree that, we have seen these news where a child has hit the parent, child has spent lakhs of monies in getting access to this online games, getting spammed by these online games. So these all are the negative effects of internet that we see. But then where do we draw a line between internet use and internet addiction? So, as previous speakers have told, when our whole aspects of our daily life, in terms of relationships, in terms of how we are doing academically, in terms of job, gets affected, that is when we start calling it as an addiction. But then we also call it as an addiction when not having access to internet makes us restless. Not having the phone near us makes us afraid. How many times we have got up in the night and tried to search our phones just to see time or go through our WhatsApp chats. And if you're not able to get it at that point of time, how many of us have become restless? How many of us felt anxiety? So this sadness, anxiety, or irritability when internet is not available, or if you would remember a few days ago, Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, everything was down, and it did not even take milliseconds for people to put up on Twitter that internet is not working. So how addicted are we that we cannot keep a phone aside for even half an hour or half a minute for that matter, right? Along with this, the whole sense of self-satisfaction that we get by putting our photographs on social media, by getting those likes, by gauging how we are by how much people like us, is something which has a very disturbing tone to it, right? The fact that we are judging ourselves based upon how many likes we get, how many followers we get, these are all things which tells that internet use is now being more towards addiction. Can we be addicted? Can adults be addicted? Yes, any one of us can be addicted to internet. Even I, as a doctor, where my practice is surrounding around online consultations, where I have messages from my patients asking regarding what is to be done, what is not to be done. Yes, I can myself be addicted to internet. But if I'm able to keep my phone aside, I'm able to concentrate on this talking to you without looking at my phone, it tells me, yes, I have that sense that this is not addiction. Now, why are we talking about suicide rates in these teens or in youth? Is because it has been seen that if a person is using more than 2 hours of social media, they are more prone to develop anxiety, depression, as well as suicidal ideations. And you will be amazed to know that suicide is the second leading cause of death in kids who are 10 years to 24 years. That is the population of kids to teenagers to the young adults or the youth of our country. So suicide is the major cause of death in such individuals. And social media has been linked to a lot of poor self-esteem. As I said about likes, about putting our photographs, about getting our followers. So it develops a certain low self-esteem because we tend to compare ourselves with our peers, with our classmates. So many times kids now tend to ask their parents, my friend has an iPad. Why would I watch the online class on a desktop? I want an iPad. I want a smartphone. So how many times parents have come with this kind of distress that we are not able to provide for our kids. We are not able to probably reach the standards which they are expecting, because now, since everything is online, they have a lot of comparison that is going on in terms of the kind of gadgets they are using. Then also a poor body image that teens may have because of this internet use. A lot of risk-taking behavior is seen in terms of gambling, sending illicit photographs. A lot of girls get trapped, a lot of guys get trapped into this kind of behavior when they tend to exchange illicit photographs because of the internet usage. Having online affairs, at times we do not know whom we are talking to. I do not know whether I'm talking to a 60-year-old man or a 16-year-old boy. So all those things put us at a risk. And along with that, cyberbullying, I think that is a topic which every one of us should be very well versed with. That is cyberbullying. We sitting at home are exposing our kids, are exposing our teen, the youth of the country to certain things, certain kind of stresses, which we ourselves cannot pinpoint. We do not know where the buller is. We do not know this person who's sitting across a screen and trying to blackmail or trying to bully the person who is just a kid. So these all things are certain things which put the teens at a risk of having a suicidal behavior, having depression or anxiety. And anxiety and depression further themselves are at a very high risk factors for suicide. But then suicide at this point of time is not only because of internet. So we have to be very careful regarding the sudden loss which has been experienced by the kids nowadays. The COVID has taken so many lives. I don't know a single family where a person has not been affected by COVID. So all of us have dealt with it. And so many of us have lost our near and dear ones. So that itself has such an impact on a child's mental health, right? Losing a pet itself, we are talking about humans right now, but just losing a dog during this time has such a great impact on the health of a child. Right. So these all contribute to the suicidal ideations. Along with that, substance abuse. I think the youth nowadays, as we see in the news also, there has been an increased rate of alcohol abuse, tobacco abuse. Cannabis is available at every nook and corner of the country. And all these substance abuses expose the kids to depression, anxiety, and as a result, a risk for suicide. Not only this, if we talk about the COVID pandemic as such, domestic violence is something which has been on a high. I mean, it's a record high that we are seeing during the COVID pandemic, and kids are watching it. A kid is watching his mother or the father being beaten by the partner in front of them. And I am sure all of us can gauge the impact it would have on a child's mental health as well as development. So all these factors together, make a child at a risk for suicide. And not only the internet use, but definitely internet use in terms of isolation, in terms of the distances, in terms of lack of social gatherings, in terms of lack of social contact, and problematic internet use like exposure to cyberbullying and interference with sleep. All these are causing an effect on the mental health of a child, and thereby exposing them or thereby causing them to have certain suicidal ideations. We have talked about what all of us can do, what a psychologist can do. But I think the most important thing here is to accept that there is a problem. So many of us do not accept that we have an internet usage problem, right? How many of us would not agree to the fact that we have been abusing the internet, right? And how many of us would say that addiction is not something which is internet related? Addiction is substance related, addiction is alcohol related, tobacco related, or for that matter, other illicit drugs related. So accepting that we have a behavioral addiction in terms of internet use is something which has to start from us. We have to do that first. And I think one of the previous speakers has talked about how parents' addiction is affecting the kids. So if the parents themselves start accepting that this internet use is harmful, not only for us, but for our kids, I think that is a very important step forward that we are going to take. So all of us from today probably can keep a log of how many hours of internet use we have ourselves, right? Along with that, it is also very important to identify who are these people who are at risk. So if a child is keeping to himself, a child is spending a lot of time in the bedrooms, child is not or refusing to come out and eat with the family, or the child's appetite has come down, the child is not sleeping properly. As said before, that we sleep, but our child is awake all the night. We do not know what he's doing. So these all features are red flags, or these all features are indicators that the child is at a risk to develop a mental disorder. Child is at a risk to have suicidal ideations. Any minute changes that we see in children is very important and has to be taken very seriously. I think Dr. Agarwal just mentioned in passing that a pediatrician telling you have dark circles, are you not sleeping? So whatever we speak in front of them has a lot of impact on them. And these dark circles, if identified by parents, can save these kids, can help them to get help, to get out of this addiction, to prevent getting into that whole path of anxiety, depression, and suicidal ideations. Most important thing is, after you identify this, seek help. Now, the help does not mean that you have to go to a psychiatrist only. The help can be sought through a psychologist. Help can be sought through therapy. Help can be sought through a pediatrician. So it's not that you have to actively search for a psychiatrist to help a person who has suicidal ideations. All of us on a personal level can help these people through just certain amount of venting, either to the parents or to the kid, listening to what they're telling, and also breaking this myth that a child is asking for help just to get attention. That is such a wrong thing that parents believe in, that the child is talking about depression because they're seeing this in media, they're seeing this in news, and they're just catching these things and they're trying to gain attention. But all cry for help should be met with some amount of attention from us, because once this point is gone, once this moment is gone, we cannot bring them back. We have seen 9-year-olds committing suicide. We have seen 6-year-olds writing suicide notes. And then we question ourselves, what is wrong in their lives? What is wrong is we are not able to identify. We are not able to listen to them when they're asking for help. So I think all of us on personal level, along with the doctors, along with the psychologists that are available to us, have to identify these individuals who are at a risk. So anyone near you who expresses that they are feeling low, they do not want to live, or they want to run away from everything, that itself should be a red flag for you, and you should be taking some steps to help them out, probably directing them to someone or talking to them, asking them what the problem is. And talking to suicide does not induce suicidal ideas, so I would encourage everyone to talk about suicide. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I hope this helps parents become a little more aware about their child's problem. So now coming on to Dr. Kamal. Sir, digital technology has already changed the world. And as more and more children go online and use the internet around the world, it is increasingly changing childhood. What, according to you, would be the risk or the problems for children's psychosocial development in digital age?
Hi, hello everyone. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Suri, the Psychowellness Center, and TalktoAngel team for providing me an opportunity to be a part of this chat and be a member of such an esteemed group. As far as this question goes, I've been dealing with kids who are of a very young age, like say under 6 years of age, and especially with those having developed problems related to their speech, social development, and social communication, etc. The main reasons which we have seen and the cases which we have seen during this pandemic, especially for the past 2 years, is that I've seen more kids who were speaking previously, but during this year, due to the excessive use of mobiles and phones and different things, the speech is now reducing slowly. The child doesn't want to talk. They are more engrossed in in their phones and the laptops. And like I said, especially those kids who are very small, the introduction of such gadgets is mainly through the parents. Just like the speakers before me said, we as parents generally tend to introduce these gadgets to our kid. A child is born and the mother first posts a selfie of a child, newborn child, and वो सब the Facebook and on this social media पे सबसे पहला like उसको वहीं से start हो जाता है. Then within 1 year of age, there are so many contests where they post their pictures and they want like. So it's this, I would like to call it a wannabe syndrome, which develops in the parents, and through the parents, it's being passed to the children. Like earlier when we were small, so we used to have role models in maximum being Indians, तो हमारे role models cricketers हो जाते थे, या Bollywood fraternity के लोग होते थे, yeah, if we have seen if when we were young, so it could be some politician or things like that. But for children today, they are these TikTokers and they are these small kids who are fascinated on watching these videos on on TikTok, and social memes are there. Like there's a very beautiful example of a kid who just made a small video and he's even not 10 years of age, and that video is being used to produce a song which is now a super multi-duper hit. And just because that song is such a hit, the child is being bombarded with such attention जो उसने कभी expect ही नहीं करा होगा अपनी life में. This kid is from a very humble background, and because of that, उसका सारा का सारा जो है impact उसके mental health पर आया. Now the child can't talk, he's not able to sing, and ऐसा नहीं था कि he was a very good singer. He just posted a small meme, somebody made a video out of it, and now he is an internet sensation. तो वो उतने attention को handle नहीं कर पा रहा है. Getting back to the kids who I deal and who we deal with at our clinic, those who have social communication issues, excessive use of internet, especially poems. जैसे बहुत छोटे बच्चों में the net is more restricted to YouTube and the poems and the videos जो parents उनको दे देते हैं just to replace themselves by the gadgets. Like now most of the parents are working at home. Work from home doesn't mean they are available to their children at home. It just is a replacement. कि पहले they used to go to the office. Right now they are locking themselves in different space and the child is mostly alone with the gadget, with the phone or the laptop. And वहाँ पे वो rhymes को देख देख के, we are talking about small kids, those who don't know how to search things on the internet. They just continuously go on playing the same rhymes repeatedly. So what happens is that they don't have anybody to talk to. Phone doesn't talk you back. It doesn't talk to you back. So जो communication है वो बहुत affect हुआ है. 2-2.5 साल के बच्चे पहले बोलना शुरू कर चुके थे. Now they are 4 and they don't want to talk. They are not talking. And I would like to share an example. Like around 2 years back, I saw a kid who he had developed symptoms of autism, and he was on the spectrum and he had his language, but the language was Spanish, which we had picked from the phone. And earlier nobody used to understand that, but someday the mother was sitting with a colleague of hers who had some bit of knowledge about this language. So when the child was self-talking, so she heard and said that your child is talking in Spanish. So then she realized कि घर पे phone में YouTube पर language change was Spanish. So whatever he was watching, वो सारा video content जो था वो Spanish language का देख रहा था बच्चा, and he picked Spanish from that, and he wouldn't talk. So these things are developing in the kids due to excessive use of the phone, especially the internet. And the access is very easy. Earlier, the data was used to be in MBs, then slowly it has now gone to GBs and gigabytes, and like there are, you can say terabytes of data availability hai. So parents are using it, and it is mostly the problem जो parents की वजह से बच्चों में start हो जाती है. Now again going on the psychosocial impact. Psychosocial impact जैसे कि मेरे से पहले मैम ने बताया डॉक्टर अग्रवाल ने कि they don't want to attend functions, they don't want to go out, they don't want to interact with in family gatherings. Thanks to COVID, gatherings are already reduced. अभी मिलना जुलना is not coming back to normal, and we don't know in future कि वो कब तक चलेगा. Now we have to live with this. So internet का use जो है, it isn't restricted to only watching the फालतू stuff. Education is being done through the phone. जैसे अभी पहले क्या होता था कि आप बोलते थे कि बच्चा फोन देख रहा है तो टाइम वेस्ट कर रहा है, but it is now he is studying also on the phone. So you don't know कि वो एक्चुअली में पढ़ रहा है या वो स्क्रीन को मिनिमाइज करके कुछ और चल रहा है. एंड जैसे कि आया, बिकॉज ऑफ दैट there is a sort of competitiveness also developing. They want new gadgets, and parents क्या कर रहे हैं, they are replacing themselves with that gadgets. कि वो जो फिजिकल अफेक्शन था, फिजिकल टाइम था, वो टाइम आज भी नहीं मिल रहा है. जैसे one will think that if we are at home, so we have a lot of time to spend with our family, but that's not the case. टाइम उतना ही है जितना पहले था. इनफैक्ट अभी और रिड्यूस हो गया है, बिकॉज वर्किंग आवर्स और बड़े हो चुके हैं. यू हैव टू बी ऑनलाइन से in the morning you log in and till the night you have to be logged in only. So because of that, physical part जो है, physical affection, touch reduce हो गया है. People are not going out, spending time. एक बच्चे के लिए सबसे बड़ी चीज क्या है, फिजिकल एनर्जी उसमें बहुत ज्यादा है. अब वो एनर्जी चैनलाइज नहीं होती है. वो चैनलाइज ना होने की वजह से जो गेम्स है उनके थ्रू चैनलाइज होगी. फॉर एग्जाम्पल अगर पबजी को हम देखते हैं, वहां पे एवरीथिंग इज सो इजिली एक्सेसिबल कि वो जाता है, फायर आर्म्स भी मिल जाते हैं, उसकी टीम भी तैयार हो जाएगी, उसके साथ में फाइटर्स भी मिल जाएंगे. सो व्हाट हैपेंड, द चाइल्ड इज गेटिंग फैसिनेटेड बाय सच थिंग्स बिकॉज उसके पास कुछ और करने को ही नहीं है. ठीक है, वो बाहर जा नहीं सकता, खेल नहीं सकता, दोस्त उसने देखे ही नहीं है. कई बच्चे ऐसे हैं, दे डोंट नो कि एक दूसरा छोटा बच्चा होता कैसे है. फैमिली साइज इज स्मॉल. अभी वी आर गेटिंग मोस्टली न्यूक्लियर फैमिलीज जो है हमारे पास अवेलेबल होती हैं. जैसे इन अ सिटी लाइक दिल्ली, if you talk to people around you, they have their parents living back to their native places, and they are working here in Delhi and living just because of their work. So because of that, family size is small. Mother, father, and mostly अभी क्या, पहले हम दो हमारे दो होता था, वो भी reduce होके हम दो हमारा एक ही हो चुका है. तो आई हैव सीन किड जिनके लिए अपने से अलावा वो दूसरे बच्चे को रिकॉग्नाइज ही नहीं कर सकते कि ये भी कोई एक आइडेंटिटी है. सो बिकॉज ऑफ दैट व्हाट इज हैपनिंग, कम्युनिकेशन बहुत ज्यादा अफेक्ट हो गई है, स्पेशली द सोशल कम्युनिकेशन पार्ट. दे डोंट फील, जैसे अभी बच्चे हैं वो दूसरे इंसान को इंसान की तरह नहीं लेते, बिकॉज दे हैवंट सीन, देखा ही नहीं है, तो उसको वो कैसे एक्सेप्ट करेंगे. व्हाट दे हैव सीन इज थ्रू द टेलीविजन, थ्रू दोज राइम्स एंड थ्रू थिंग्स लाइक दैट. सो यस, इंटरनेट इज अ बून, डेफिनेटली बहुत उसके एडवांटेजेस हैं, बट देन जैसे एक बहुत का डायलॉग है, विद ग्रेट पावर्स कम ग्रेट रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज. सो इट इज अ वेरी पावरफुल टूल, लेकिन वो अपने आप में उतना रिस्पॉन्सिबल खुद से नहीं है, उसको रिस्पॉन्सिबल बनाना पड़ेगा. जैसे अभी प्रीवियस स्पीकर ने बोला कि पोर्नोग्राफी इज वेरी इजिली एक्सेसिबल, बट टू बी वेरी ऑनेस्ट, पोर्नोग्राफी बच्चे के साथ इंट्रोडक्शन पेरेंट्स के थ्रू ही होती है. आपकी सर्च हिस्ट्री के अकॉर्डिंग आपको इंटरनेट आगे सजेशंस पास करता है. जैसे इसका एक वेरी ब्यूटीफुल एग्जांपल आई हैव. प्रीवियसली आई वाज वर्किंग विद अ साइकियाट्रिस्ट. सो एट हिज क्लिनिक व्हाट ही यूज्ड टू डू, वो अपने सारा ही वाज आल्सो वेरी टेक सेवी, एंड उनको ये था कि एवरीथिंग ही यूज्ड टू पोस्ट ऑनलाइन के यूट्यूब चैनल एंड दिस एंड दैट एवरीथिंग. वो बहुत कुछ ऐसा करना चाहते थे. एंड व्हाट ही यूज्ड टू डू, ही यूज्ड टू एक्सेस दोस चैनल्स थ्रू हिज पर्सनल लिंक्स. अपने आईडी से ही वो उनको यूज करते थे, and the system was always there in the clinic. So one fine day, the staff which is there when the afternoon when the clinic is off, so the staff used to use the same system and watch things जो उसकी पसंद की थे, and उसी login ID से उनके बच्चे भी वो चीजें देखते थे. तो one fine day he saw those same suggestions coming in his child's phone, जो बच्चा एक 8 साल का था, and he was astonished कि भाई मैं कुछ ऐसा नहीं करता हूँ, बट ये मेरे बच्चे के पास पहुंच गया है. एंड चाइल्ड बीइंग चाइल्ड विल डेफिनेटली, जो उसको सजेशंस आ रहे हैं एक आध पर तो क्लिक हो ही जाएगा. एंड वंस इट स्टार्ट्स, तो दिस इज हाउ इट गोज. क्योंकि बच्चों के अंदर क्या होता है, दे हैव दिस क्यूरियोसिटी, उनमें वो लर्निंग क्यूरियोसिटी होती है कि ये क्या चीज है, दे वांट टू लर्न, दे वांट टू एक्सेस इट. सो वहां पर फिर क्लिनिक पे काफी उस बात पे हंगामा हो गया एंड ऑल के भाई क्या हुआ, एंड देन द सीसीटीवीज वर चेक्ड एंड ऑल. सो एक छोटी सी चीज से जो है वो बच्चे को इंट्रोडक्शन हो गया पोर्नोग्राफी का, and that too child of a psychiatrist, a well renowned psychiatrist. So अभी क्या हम लोग उस चीज को मॉनिटर नहीं कर सकते हैं. This is what happens generally. Like Google search is the main tool. तो Google search के ऊपर there are tools. Google has provided tools कि बच्चों की search engine आप अपना कर सकते हैं. You could always monitor what your child is watching and you can always block certain sites and all. But वो सब करने की हमें फुर्सत नहीं है, तो इसलिए उस वजह से बच्चा उन सबको अब बेसिकली प्रोन हो जाता है, या व्हाट यू कैन से इज एक्सपोज्ड टू सर्टेन थिंग जो उसके लिए काफी हार्मफुल डेवलप हो सकते हैं. एंड डेफिनेटली यू नेवर नो कि कब वो एक पहले हैबिट में डेवलप होता है और हैबिट के बाद वो एडिक्शन में डेवलप हो जाता है. आई हैव सीन पेरेंट्स जो बच्चों को फीडिंग कराते हैं मोबाइल देकर, वो राइम्स देखेंगे तो वो मुंह खोलेंगे एंड देन दे विल पुट फोर्स फीड अ चाइल्ड. आई डोंट नो वो कितना उसकी हेल्थ को अफेक्ट करेगा, कितना उसकी डेवलपमेंट को अफेक्ट करेगा, बट पेरेंट्स का फंडा ये है कि ये खाता ही नहीं, अगर मैं नहीं फोन दूंगा तो ये खाएगी ही नहीं या खाएगा ही नहीं. सो दे डोंट फाइंड एन ऑल्टरनेटिव, दे आर जस्ट यूजिंग इट एज अ मीडियम, क्योंकि ऑल्टरनेटिव फाइंड करने के लिए मेहनत लगेगी. एंड ऑब्वियसली जो इंडिया में एक स्टिग्मा रहता है कि सीकिंग प्रोफेशनल हेल्प इज लास्ट, स्पेशली विद केसेस जो मेंटल हेल्थ से रिलेटेड है, क्योंकि यहाँ पे वो PAGAL लग जाता है कि अगर आप किसी साइकियाट्रिस्ट या साइकोलॉजिस्ट को विजिट कर रहे हैं तो यू विल बी लेबल्ड, जो अभी थोड़ा कम हुआ है, बट स्टिल वी हैव टू डील विद इट कि पीपल आर नॉट रेडी टू कम एंड दे आर नॉट रेडी टू एक्सेप्ट कि मुझे ये प्रॉब्लम डेवलप हो रही है, मुझे या मेरे बच्चे में ये प्रॉब्लम डेवलप हो रही है. So yes, in short, I would like to say that it is definitely affecting their psychosocial development and the physical. तो बहुत हम जानते ही हैं कि फोन देखते रहेंगे, खेलेंगे कूदेंगे नहीं तो वो obviously body shape खराब होता ही जाएगा. Under 6 years are getting obese. पेरेंट का आप 8 साल के बच्चे को देखते हो तो वो मम्मी और बच्चा एक जैसा ही दिख रहा होता है, आपको खास फर्क दिखाई नहीं देता, सिर्फ बच्चा थोड़ा सा यंग फील देता है, अदरवाइज इट्स द सेम, उतना ही वेट वो ले चुके होते हैं. So physical aspect is also disturbing because of this addiction and all. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. So as we are coming to the end of our webinar, this is our last 15 minutes. So we'll start with the question and answers round. We have
Nikita, I can see a few questions in the chat.
Yes, ma'am. So first question is for you only, ma'am.
Yeah. So shall I address that?
Ma'am, I'll ask you the question.
Yes, please.
Explain
Yes.
that. So, ma'am, I think this is from Samira Ahmed. She's asking that are adults at risk of internet effect, and if yes, then how? And the solutions for that as well, as we all are addicted to internet.
Yes. So, थोड़ा सा इसको विस्तार से हम देख लेते हैं. इससे हमें पता चलेगा, हमारे पैनलिस्ट ने इतनी अच्छी बात हम लोगों को बता दी है, डॉक्टर खुशबू, डॉक्टर कमल. I should say that Dr. Khushbu, this is the first time I am seeing such an aware psychiatrist. We have been struggling to, make psychiatrists also aware about mental health problems, to be very unfortunate scenario in India. And so comprehensively she has talked about body dysmorphic disorder. और एक चीज मैं ऐड करना चाहती हूँ, eating disorders, क्योंकि हमको ऐसी बॉडी चाहिए, ऐसी इमेज चाहिए, इसलिए हमको खाना नहीं खाना है. So eating disorders are also one of the major impacts of internet addiction. Now मैं सबसे पहले ये बताना चाहती हूँ कि इंटरनेट और गैजेट एडिक्शन और गेमिंग एडिक्शन, इन सबको मिला के हम लोग बात कर रहे हैं. इनमें से कुछ चीजें किन्हीं चीजों के साथ ज्यादा एसोसिएटेड है, कुछ किसी और के साथ ज्यादा एसोसिएटेड है. उतना हमें आज समय नहीं मिला उसको अलग अलग बताने का. पहली बात तो ये है कि 3 चीजों को हमको सोचना पड़ेगा. इसके लिए जो इंटरनेट यूसेज है वो हमारी लाइफ का इंटीग्रल पार्ट बन चुका है. तो ये जो हमें अपॉर्चुनिटीज प्रोवाइड करता है, जो बेनिफिट्स प्रोवाइड करता है, उसको बिना छेड़े, उसको बिना कॉम्प्रोमाइज किए हमको 2 चीजें करनी है. एक तो जैसे डॉक्टर कमल ने भी लास्ट में मेरे मुंह की बात छीन ली, उन्होंने कहा we have to teach children and adults to become responsible participants in the digital world. And second, we have to deal with the adversities. जो adverse impacts है उसको हमें डील करना है. तो सेकेंड चीज तो मेरे ख्याल से बहुत एम्पली कवर हो चुकी है कि उसका इम्पैक्ट क्या क्या होता है, किस किस तरह से होता है, हम उसका ट्रीटमेंट कैसे करते हैं. और पहली बात अगर हम जरा से विस्तार से कर ले तो शायद हमारे बाकी के जितने भी क्वेश्चंस है वो एड्रेस हो जाएंगे. how to become more responsible participants in the digital world. इसके लिए हमको कुछ चीजें सीखनी पड़ी. We have to become digitally literate, digital literacy. So like Dr. Kamal just now said, कि क्या पेरेंट्स को फुर्सत है ये मॉनिटर करने की कि हमारे बच्चे क्या देख रहे हैं? या डॉक्टर तृप्ति सकुजा ने कहा था, पहले मुझे तो पता होना चाहिए पबजी किस बला का नाम है, पबजी नाम की कौन सी सब्जी है. Then are we aware about their universe? What is it? Because portable devices है उनके हाथ में, वो तो अपने कोने में लेके उसको चले जाते हैं, किसी सोफे पे बैठ जाते हैं, कहीं अपने रूम में चले जाते हैं और दरवाजा बंद कर लेते हैं. हाउ डू वी मॉनिटर? तो उसके लिए जो एक उपाय है वो है जॉइंट इंटरनेट एक्टिविटी. जैसे समीरा जी ने क्वेश्चन जो पूछा है कि टीवी जो था उसके बारे में कहते थे कि टीवी से आंखें खराब हो जाएगी, टीवी से ये हो जाएगा वो हो जाएगा. अब तो 24 घंटे का टीवी है और हमारे हाथ में और आंखों के बिल्कुल पास में है. तो टीवी फिर भी ड्राइंग रूम में होता था, सबके सामने देखा जाता था, सबके साथ में देखा जाता था, इसलिए उससे फिर भी प्रोटेक्शन थी. पर इससे तो प्रोटेक्शन हमें नहीं पता कि उसमें क्या देखा जा रहा है. तो पहली बात तो जॉइंट एक्टिविटीज, जॉइंट ऑनलाइन एक्टिविटीज. दूसरी बात डिवाइडिंग योर डे along with the children. सेकेंड क्वेश्चन जो पूजा गुप्ता जी ने पूछा, पेरेंट्स क्या कर सकते हैं? बच्चों के साथ मिलके अपने डे को डिवाइड करें. This part of the day we are going to use internet and online activities. Online activities का पर्पस क्या है? 3 E's. 1, educate. 2, explore. 3, express. और अगर एक ई इसमें ऐड करना चाहते हैं, जैसे डॉक्टर खुशबू ने बताया था, एंटरटेनमेंट, टू एंटरटेन. अब क्या है, इन चारों में से अगर सिर्फ एंटरटेनमेंट रह गया तो दैट मीन्स रिस्पॉन्सिबल यूसेज नहीं हो रहा है. रिस्पॉन्सिबल यूसेज में बाकी तीनों चीजें भी समाहित है. फिर तीसरी बात पे हम आते हैं कि डिजिटल स्किल्स. Are we using the internet to connect with people? If we are using the internet to connect with people, who are these people? Are they known people? Are they our own relatives who are in remote locations? जैसे उन्होंने बताया, क्या मैं दादा दादी से, नाना नानी से, चाचा चाची से, अपने दोस्तों से वीडियो कॉल पे बात कर रही हूँ, तो फिर ये कनेक्ट जो हमने किया ये तो यूजफुल कनेक्ट हुआ. ये तो मेंटल हेल्थ और सेल्फ एस्टीम को एनहांस करने वाला कनेक्ट हुआ. पर दूसरी तरफ अगर मैं अननोन लोगों से, अनसेफ लोगों से कनेक्ट कर रही हूं तो इसका मतलब देयर इज अ रिस्क इन्वॉल्व ओवर देयर. सो कम्स द रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी. तो हमको बच्चों को सिखाना पड़ेगा, जैसे हम बच्चों को वैसे रोज की दुनिया में सिखाते हैं कि स्ट्रेंजर्स के साथ कैसे बात करना है, कैसे डील करना है, उसी तरह इंटरनेट पे भी स्ट्रेंजर्स के को कैसे पहचानना है, उनके साथ कितना एंगेज करना है, नहीं करना है, साइबर बुलिंग को कैसे आइडेंटिफाई करना है, उसको कैसे रिपोर्ट करना है, ये सब हमें उनको सिखाना पड़ेगा. स्किल्स में ही एक और बात जो हम बात करते हैं वो है कि हम क्रिएटिव है या केवल इंटरनेट को कंज्यूम कर रहे हैं. सो विथ क्रिएटिविटी ऑल्सो कम्स अनदर सी दैट इज कंट्रीब्यूटिंग. व्हाट आर यू डूइंग विद द इंटरनेट? सो व्हेन आई वाज वर्किंग एज डीन ट्रेनिंग एंड डेवलपमेंट, तो हमारे यहाँ जो रिक्रूटर्स आते थे तो बच्चों से उनकी हॉबीज जरूर पूछते थे. तो कोई बच्चे जनरली बता देते थे लिसनिंग टू म्यूजिक इज माय हॉबी. तो वो कहते थे लिसनिंग टू म्यूजिक इज अ पैसिव एक्टिविटी. इफ यू आर सिंगिंग और इफ यू आर मेकिंग म्यूजिक और इफ यू आर यूजिंग सम काइंड ऑफ अ म्यूजिकल इंस्ट्रूमेंट, देन मे बी वी कैन कंसिडर इट एज एन हॉबी. सिमिलरली फॉर द इंटरनेट यूसेज, are you just a passive consumer of all the content that is being thrown at you, or are you responsibly selecting the content which is useful and relevant for you? Also, are you contributing to the internet in any way? For example, being a responsible psychologist, I never fail to call out content which is unscientific. मैं हमेशा उसको रिपोर्ट करती हूँ, उसको ऑब्जेक्ट करती हूँ, मैं बोलती हूँ कि नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है, ऐसा है, साइंटिफिक एविडेंस ये कहता है. सो आर यू कंट्रीब्यूटिंग इन एनी वे टू द इंटरनेट? हम लोग क्या कर सकते हैं उसमें कंटेंट ऐड करने के लिए, क्या ऐसा सोच पा रहे? एक और बात, डिजिटल हैबिट्स. हमने डिजिटल लिटरेसी की बात की, डिजिटल स्किल्स की बात की, अब हम बात करें डिजिटल हैबिट्स की. क्या डिजिटल हैबिट्स हमारी डेट्रीमेंटल टुवर्ड्स आवर ओन हेल्थ है, सेल्फ सैबोटेजिंग है? जैसे हम बोलते थे कि भाई टीवी के सामने बैठ के हम काउच पोटैटोज बन गए, पहले बोलते थे ना, और उससे ओबेसिटी बढ़ रही है, ये हो रहा है, वो हो रहा है. तो डिजिटल हैबिट्स हमारी हेल्दी है या अनहेल्दी है? हेल्दी डिजिटल हैबिट्स को हम कैसे अपना सकते हैं, और उन हेल्दी डिजिटल हैबिट्स को अपनाने के लिए हमको क्या करना पड़ेगा? तो जैसे मैं बता रही थी कि take your children into confidence and divide the day into online, offline and hybrid. So for example, you will make a contract कि ये 2 घंटे हम यहाँ जा रहे हैं, that is an offline activity. There we are not going to use the internet or we are not going to use the mobile. So for example, if they are going to their grandparents to have dinner with them, it is an offline activity. So let them differentiate between what is offline and what is online. और ऐसी जगह जहां पर hybrid है, where we will be doing some offline things and you can also use your phone. ऐसी कौन सी चीजें? जब ये क्लियर डिस्टिंक्शन हम करना सीखेंगे, तब हम उनको ये बता पाएंगे ये एक्सरसाइज टाइम है, दिस इज एन ऑफलाइन एक्टिविटी. This is your play time, which is an offline activity. Here we are playing chess or we are playing ludo. जैसे डॉक्टर कमल ने कहा, ऑल्टरनेटिव क्या दिया आपने उनको? ऑल्टरनेटिव देने में ये समस्या है कि आपको खुद बैठना पड़ेगा. And so responsibility will come on the parents. आपको समय देना पड़ेगा to give them opportunities to engage in offline activities. That will actually cultivate good, healthy digital habits. So this is the way in which we have to think about it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. There's another question from Nandita. Tripti ma'am, would you like to answer that? So the question is what we can do. The question is what we can do to promote social emotional learning in children so it can reduce internet's negative effects.
Yeah, so very important. And I would very important is that if we are able to increase the socio-emotional learning, lot of negative effects will go away. So the most important thing I would like to summarize with one line also, that for parents, it is very important to have connection before correction. So if we want to think about this spectrum of socio-emotional learning, the first important aspect is connection. But what happens? Parents start correcting. ये गलत कर दिया, ऐसे नहीं होता है, हमारे जमाने में ऐसा कभी नहीं हुआ, हमने कभी ऐसा नहीं करा, क्या तुमने दीदी को ऐसे करते हुए देखा है कभी? And the connection breaks. So much so that अगर कोई ये भी आकर बच्चा, I to tell my clients and parents कि कोई आकर ये भी कह रहा है कि आज मैंने सिगरेट पिया, फॉर एग्जाम्पल, मैं एक एग्जाम्पल दे रही हूँ. अगर कोई कह रहा है कि आज मैंने इंटरनेट पर पॉर्न मूवी देखी, एंड व्हाट डू यू एक्सपेक्ट पेरेंट्स विल डू? दे विल जस्ट उसका फोन खींच लेंगे, आज से तार इंटरनेट कट गया, अब वो कहीं और जाके देखेगा, एंड वो कनेक्शन उसका ब्रेक हो गया. So most important aspect is कि connection before correction, affection before perfection. अगर मैं इसी बात को एक बात करती हूँ कि सबसे ज्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट जो इमोशन है वो है लव. सो अ लव बिटवीन पेरेंट एंड चाइल्ड इज वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. तो अगर हम सोशल लर्निंग की बात करते हैं या इमोशनल लर्निंग की बात करते हैं, सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट इमोशन है लव. और लव बच्चे को तब मिलना चाहिए जब वो डिजर्व ही नहीं करता है. देन दैट विल डेवलप द social learning, that will develop the emotional learning. As Dr. Khushbu said, the first thing is acceptance. So हमें एक्सेप्ट करना है फर्स्ट भी, अदरवाइज हम डिनाइल में रहते हैं कि नहीं मेरे बच्चे के साथ तो ये प्रॉब्लम है ही नहीं, वो तो स्मार्ट है इसलिए वो इतने सारे हर समय इतना टिकटॉक बना लेता है, इतना क्रिएटिव हो गया है. वी आर इन डिनाइल कि वेयर द चाइल्ड इज गोइंग. तो उसका सोशली क्या इफेक्ट हो रहा है, इमोशनली उस पर क्या इफेक्ट हो रहा है, वी विल बी इन टोटल डिनाइल एंड इट लीड्स टू एनी एडिक्शन. अगर आज हम बात करते हैं शाहरुख खान एंड आर्यन की भी, तो आई सॉ इन द मॉर्निंग ओनली कि व्हेन आर्यन वाज 2 or 3 years old, तब कोई इंटरव्यू था विद रैंडवू विद सिमी गेरेवाल, and the child was 2 or 3 years old, and something was asked about the child, and Shahrukh said that I want my child to do everything in life. I want my child to take drugs. I want my child to go like play with girls. I want girls' parents coming and telling me that he's disturbing my daughter, because all these things I did not do. And that is what parents feel कि हमने आज तक, हमारे पास मोबाइल नहीं होता था, हमारे तो घर में टीवी भी नहीं होता था, हम संडे को कहीं बाहर देखने जाया करते थे, तो I will give the most expensive phone to my child. I will give the most expensive laptop. Apple के बिना तो मैं बात ही नहीं करूंगा, मैक कौन सा जो लैपटॉप है उसके बिना तो मैं बात ही नहीं बच्चे को करूंगा ही नहीं, क्योंकि मुझे बच्चे को उस स्टेटस पे लाना है जो मैं नहीं कर पाया. सो अपनी अनफुलफिल्ड डिजायर से हम बच्चों की इमोशनल नीड्स को उनकी वांट्स में बदल देते हैं. तो हमें नीड एंड वांट का ख्याल रखना है. हमें एक्सेप्ट करना है कि चाइल्ड हैज एन इमोशनल नीड, बट इट इज नॉट टू बी फुलफिल्ड अनलेस इट इज हेल्पिंग हिम. अगर उसके लिए हेल्पफुल है या हर्टफुल है, एंड इट इज नॉट मी हु विल बी अफेक्टेड. अगर मेरे बच्चे के पास एक नॉर्मल फोन है जो जरूरी है कि भाई ट्यूशन से मुझे लेने आ जाओ, मेरी क्लास खत्म हो गई है, लेकिन नो, आई डोंट अंडरस्टैंड कि व्हाई अ स्मॉल चाइल्ड इज गिवन अ स्मार्टफोन एंड देन पेरेंट्स कम एंड से कि मैम ये सोशली बिल्कुल हमसे इंटरेक्ट ही नहीं कर रहा है, अपने कजन से नहीं कर रहा है. स्टार्ट कहाँ से हुआ था? सबसे पहला पॉइंट है कि हमें डिनायल में नहीं रहना है. देन आई विल से ABC. सो वी हैव टू कम टू A से अवेयरनेस. पहले हमें अवेयरनेस में आना है कि हाउ दिस कैन इम्पैक्ट द चाइल्ड. हाउ इम्पॉर्टेंट इज सोशल लर्निंग फॉर अ चाइल्ड, इमोशनल लर्निंग फॉर अ चाइल्ड. एकेडमिक्स तो बाद में आ जाएगा, but parents focus on academics only कि and the comparison कि उसके नंबर वो भी तो किस ये जो जिसके 98% आए और तेरे 96 रह गए, इतना मिनिमम इंटर. एक जगह आई वाज रीडिंग कि एशियन पेरेंट्स की कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स लिखी थी और उसमें था कि व्हेन अ चाइल्ड गेट्स 98%, दीज पेरेंट विल आस्क कि वो 2% कहाँ रह गए, अगर तू थोड़ा और पढ़ लेता तो वो भी आ जाता. So that connection is missing. So most important is to develop the connection, develop the rapport, as I always say, and then be aware of what are the children, their friends of their children. They should be knowing who are the friends, and is child feeling bullied? This is a very common scenario now. So is child feeling bullied? Is child able to express her emotions? So then A, B, C, I was telling, so A will be awareness and B will be then keeping a balance. Balance thinking, it is okay to be not okay. अगर बच्चे ने कुछ गलत भी कर दिया है तो it is okay to be not okay, लेकिन हमें उसे balance में लाना है. And when I can keep my expectations, my demands, my needs in balance, then I will be able to control, and then I will be able to develop this social and emotional upbringing of the child in a positive, constructive way. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Now that we have come to the end of our session, so
एक क्वेश्चन रह गया युविता जी का. She'll feel
yes,
bad
ma'am,
if we don't take her question.
surely we can take that. We can take that. Would you like to answer that, ma'am?
एक मिनट मैं पढ़ लूं कहाँ गया वो क्वेश्चन.
I'll read that for you, ma'am. Sure.
Yes, please. Due to peer pressure, हाँ.
Due to peer pressure, children are becoming demanding for mobile that is more expensive, modified, and they want expensive modified phones nowadays. So how can one minimize the peer pressure?
डॉक्टर तृप्ति ने अभी जैसे कहा कोई आईफोन के बिना और वो मैक प्रो के बिना तो कोई बात ही नहीं कर रहा है. The highest end, and even after they have it, they want a new model as soon as it comes in the market. So as a parent, I hope you're asking this question as a parent, Yogita ji. As a parent, you cannot just have two options of either saying a yes or no. There has to be a detailed discussion with the child in a very neutral mode. या तो पेरेंट्स दो गलती करते हैं, या तो सीधा बोलते हैं नहीं मिलेगा. And so the child resolves कि मैं तो लेके रहूंगा, आप कैसे मुझे मना करोगे? And then he will bring up all the tantrums, nuisance behavior, everything that he can to coax you, to coerce you to give in to the demands. या second, जैसे अभी डॉक्टर तृप्ति ने बताया कि you will give in, yes, क्योंकि हमको नहीं मिला तो हम तुझे तो बेटा किसी चीज के लिए मना नहीं करेंगे. इन दोनों के बीच में जो हमें करना है वो है डिस्कशन. एंड फॉर डिस्कशन you need to have a lot of time and patience so that the child comes to a conclusion about the pros and the cons of having it, of not having it, and what is the best decision which is in his favor.
I would like to add over here, we have to define to a child with the evidence कि उसका purpose क्या है. For example, mobile phone चाहे वो expensive है या otherwise है, उसका purpose है communicate करना, educate करना and aware करना. Similarly, car का, अभी मेरे नीस के बेटे ने बोला सुना पापा को बात करते कि हमारा 10 करोड़ रुपया जो है फंसा हुआ था वो आने वाला है. Immediately he comes to mother and tells मम्मी वो 10 करोड़ पे आने वाला, 8 करोड़ की एक गाड़ी ले लेंगे रॉयल राइस और बाकी 2 करोड़ का दूसरी गाड़ी ले लेंगे. He doesn't know where the money is coming, how the money has been blocked for many years. So I fully endorse जो मैडम कह रही हैं कि awareness and discussion. बच्चे की अंडरस्टैंडिंग नहीं है, उसको मालूम नहीं है कि इसका इम्पोर्टेंस क्या है. पहले तो हमें रियलाइज करना है कि हमें रॉयल राइस चाहिए कि हमें मारुति 800 चाहिए कम्युनिकेट करने के लिए, अपनी ट्रांसपोर्ट करने के लिए. टेक्नोलॉजी इज अ इनेबलर. टेक्नोलॉजी इज not the only appetite to fulfill your all demands. Similarly, in the digital technology world, as a parent, what we can do, there are devices by virtue of devices we can have a login detail of कौन सी site पे कितनी देर बच्चा आपका गया है. That can be implanted on your mobile phones, that can be put on your laptops. Security passwords हैं, security networks हैं, मगर ये जानने की जरूरत है कि बच्चे हमसे ज्यादा sharp हैं, intelligent हैं in terms of getting that kind of a knowledge where. So we should be little cautious in terms of reaching out to them. And I fully agree with Dr. Tripti and Dr. Chinu Agarwal कि हमें dialogue discuss करना है, but वो भी वो हमें discreetly करना है, हमें evidence based करना है, हमें उसको purpose define करना है, logic से उसको बताना है, ना कि अपनी emotion से. Emotions express करने हैं जब emotions express करने की जरूरत है. अगर जो कोई बात हमें बुरी लगती है तो हमें एक्सप्रेस करना है कि हमें बुरी लगी है. एंड दैट सेम थिंग द चाइल्ड आल्सो नो, उसको भी बुरी लगती है. So this is what is more important in terms of emotional understanding. Emotions are very important part of the life and we have to learn how to manage it.
Now coming to the end, a sincere thank you to all the parents and informative session, and a great thank you to our wonderful audience as well. I hope all this helped you all a little bit.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, teachers. Thank you.
Thanks to everyone.